Συγγνώμη που θα μιλήσουμε περισσότερο στα αγγλικά, έτσι ώστε να μπορεί να παρακολουθήσει και η συνεργάτης μου και η συνάδελφός μου, Eva Fernandez, από το Πανεπιστήμιο της Γενέβης. Ο λόγος για τον οποίο είναι συλλογική δουλειά είναι γιατί προέκυψε μέσα από ερευνητικές διεργασίες στο ένα πρόγραμμα 9 ομάδων, στο άλλο 8 εθνικών ομάδων. Οπότε και η ορολογία είναι, δεν υπάρχει ακόμη στα ελληνικά, αλλά θα προσπαθήσω να είναι σύντομη. Χρυσούλα, πόσο χρόνο έχουμε?
Κοίταξε, έτσι κι αλλιώς έχουμε βγει έξω από το χρόνο μας. Οπότε...
γιατί είχαμε προγραμματίσει να παρουσιάσουμε 20 λεπτά, θα προσπαθήσουμε να το κάνουμε ίσως πιο σύντομο. Και όποιος θέλει, υπάρχουν αρκετές δημοσιεύσεις. Okay, Eva is also listening at this time. The paper to be presented basically refers to work under two European Commission research collaborative projects. So compared to the other presentations, we are more focused on basic research that has been carried out unilaterally across the national teams that I mentioned of the two projects. Basically, in this presentation, we would like to show you what the approach is. It is an innovative approach, and we were very happy because we were invited to also write, and we have written a paper for SAGE research methods, doing research online recently. And we had also published in American Behavioral Scientist the method. The method is basically a content analysis method that follows a very classical method in the study of social movements and collective action. These are the protest event analysis, protest case analysis, and political claims analysis. So with Yannis Tsitsikas and Yannis Marketakis, with the collaboration we had, and the idea that developed in our research teams, that we should move from using newspapers as sources of information and use hubs of organizational websites, came into fruition. And I would like to thank very much Yannis Tsitsikas, Yannis Marketakis, and the entire team at ICS that supported this and wrote the related reports that we used to move with our basic research in this area. This is a very classical approach. Charles Tilly is the father of the approach that showed us the way. And as a historian and political scientist, he pointed out that the means people have at their disposal are historically determined and they change over time. So we followed that thought and moved from the analysis of basically written archives to the analysis in newspapers to the analysis of websites, organizational websites, following a Tillian orientation. So just to give you a very brief overview, the unit of analysis in the classical approach for the study of social movements is the protest event or the protest case or a political claim made by a group voicing their opinion in the public space. With this innovation, we are expanding this unit of analysis to study action organizations, which are basically mostly oriented in the collective action field, social movements, but also solidarity groups. However, as Eva will also tell you, this method has a lot of potential for those people who are studying organizations. And we will talk about, Eva will basically focus on the limits, the caveats, and the avenues forward. So we are now able to expand the different types of actors involved, as well as the different action forms, their aims, values, using the material provided by the organizational websites. Now, in our field of work, the unit of observation is the action organization website. The unit of analysis is the action organization, obviously. There are people who go and do interviews with representatives of action organizations, and this is the classical method in our field. However, that limits the population that is studied. So one of the big benefits from using organizational websites is immediately we have a much larger population. So we use the website, the organizational website, as the unit of observation. The other big benefit is that instead of just following the formal groups or organizations that we can trace through archives, here we can also follow informal groups, because even though they are less resource rich, they don't have the resources to do their websites. We did find that even during the period of the crisis, the financial crisis, a lot of technical engineers, technical staff were helping small groups like this one, like Kurseva in Paros Antiparos, to set up their websites and okay, not as developed websites as the more resourced organizations have, but we had information now in our hands that was very, very difficult to trace otherwise. I think it was impossible to trace otherwise unless we had this method. And you will see what we were in front of. We were really very happily surprised with the results. So why use the websites? Because of the reasons I mentioned already. It allows you to trace action organizations that are anywhere, not formally registered. So you can expand this sample that you usually have in our field, and you can have a type of very extended sample or approximate population. And I will show you what this means. Basically, the research process we describe in our publications is comprised of 4 phases. In the first phase, we have the identification of hubs, the selection and the ranking by us. The second phase is where Marketakis, Zizikas and their team came in with scraping organizations and URLs and providing us with these lists, very extended lists, which then we took in the third phase and cleaned following our criteria. And then in the fourth phase, we coded the material so as to give the characteristics of the organizations themselves. I just will show you for 2 projects which we are very happy to have worked with Yannis Marketakis and Yannis Zizikas. In the LiveWeb project, they extracted for the 9 countries 46,550 websites, which were uncleaned. These were automatically retrieved. They included brief information, brief description and contact details, not for all, but given the architecture of the websites. But we were very happy with this list because it allowed us in the next phase of the work package to contact a sample, a random sample of the organizations and send them online questionnaires. So this is what the some of the details of the report include. The use of hubs, as we had suggested that we take, led us to a very productive way of retrieving thousands of websites. For example, in Greece, we have these 4 hubs, the Εναλλακτικός GR, Solidarity for All Project, and Μπορούμε, that they were used by the engineers to give us more than 3,500. So more than 3,500 websites were derived from these 4 hubs. And similarly with the other countries, this is a picture when we map these retrieved websites. Italy and Greece are the 2 examples we have here. Even though we were not able to have zip codes to link up with ArcGIS, for about 2/3 of the cases, we were able to map them and show how representative this approach was. And, you know, this is the point where we were very satisfied with the way that we chose. Now, I will skip the sample selection. These have to do with our cleaning procedures. It was a long process, and Eva will make reference to that. And the final phase of the coding was quite rich. The websites provided very important basic information to allow us to trace the organizational profile, the types of solidarity activities, the aims of the organization, their supplementary action, and their value frames, which are very important for us. There you see just one basic graph from the Transsolve project showing the transnational solidarity organizations by field, migration, disability, and unemployment, and the way they are depicted using the information from our websites. Now, Eva, the floor is yours.
It's wonderful. Good morning, everyone. Well, good afternoon, actually. As Maria was saying, we have collaborated in various projects in Transsolve and in Eureka. And this is a tool that we have been using in these projects. And give me just 1 second that I put correctly my screen, and like that you can see me. So as Maria said, my name is Eva Fernandez and I'm based in Geneva. And what we are presenting are some of the caveats and also limitations in our documentation. So
can you see the slide?
Yes, so we see the slides, yes.
Okay.
Just the first in the caveats.
Yeah. Can you see it, Eva?
Yeah, I can see part 2 caveats. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's the first one. Okay. So what I don't know if Maria already started with this, but the thing is that with this tool, we were very successful in mapping a distribution of organizations. However, there were some elements that became challenging, but at the same time, as Maria, Christian, and I were discussing, it became also some avenues for research. So within these limitations, one of the things that was highlighted is that when we were extracting the organizations, we realized that we were in a consortium with various contexts, not only sectorial difference with regards to the fields of actions in which we were investigating, but also with regard to countries in which we were implementing our data collection, or the tool that we use for the data collection presented previously by Maria. So the thing is that we had a double problematic. We were confronted with the problematic of the variety in website and in languages. So in order to retrieve the semi-autonomous online retrieval was unable to produce a corpus with enough information about the organizations, because this corpus that they were able to extract through hubs, they were limited by the structure of the same website and by the language in which the website was coded or was created. So we try to come out with some kind of discussion of how we can go over these limitations. Could you please go to the next slide? So as I said, the main bottleneck was first the variation in context and language. And the second bottleneck was the structure of the websites. So in order to create this population that was harmonized in such a way through the extraction of links, we were asking ourselves, first, for the second option, the structural architectural diversity, maybe if we focus in a specific kind of format, we can create tools that can extract automized content more easily. Meaning, if Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram tend to have kind of similar website structures, it might be easier to extract some chunks of information. And this will be a way to at least go over this first bottleneck challenge, at least as a first kind of a step. And with regards to the context variation, we were thinking if there is the possibility to discuss the creation of dictionaries across the context that could identify words in order to make the extraction easier. So if we go to the next slide, as I say, these limitations are as well avenues for future. So even though we were able to crawl through this, we not, but the team, the force team was able to crawl through the websites and obtain very useful information that allowed us to map. This mapping was not, this mapping had these issues. And the thing is that because of the problems that I stated before, the mapping needed a lot of manual work and cleaning. So the propositions that we are putting all today in the table are always in this optic to limit the manual coding. Meaning, if we are able, through the tool that the FORCE team has developed, to obtain a little more information on the description of the organization, the first cleaning of the population universe will be much more easier. And this will reduce considerably the amount of manual coding that we had to do already in the cleaning of the sampling and manual selection. Second, if we are able to have dictionaries, when we are collecting the information from these organizations in an automized way, it will be easier to exclude the non-pertinent ones, because we always have non-pertinent ones. And this will be a way in excluding the ones that are not pertinent. Second, if we are able to work with more kind of formatted oriented websites like Facebook, Instagram, this might not be the basis of the analysis, but will be complementary tools that we can use for the analysis of the websites later on. Meaning, through the information that these pages have in a more standardized format, we'll be able already to extract some key elements that will already allow us to have a cleaner sample and to construct a coding basis which is more equally distributed across the organizations. Another limitation, because these were the two main limitations that we saw when we were implementing the tool. Then further on in the research, we also came with new research questions. And we realized, and this is the last caveat that we add in our presentation, is that even though this tool uses links in hubs to recreate a population, in the end, we don't know how that population is connected in itself. So it has a network analysis limitation. Then it came to us after we started doing the analysis, because obviously we work with the team trying to construct and to build a tool that will answer to some specific research question. Obviously, as researchers, we're always asking ourselves more. And in this more that we asked, we came to notice that we were not able to recreate a network of outlinks across all the organizations. We used the outlinks to extract the population, but not to see how these different organizations create coordinations or at least electronic proxies of collaborations across them. So this is the third limitation. But this limitation came after. It was not part of the reflection exercise that we did while preparing the tool. This came just after. This became as an external caveat for what we could have done as well. We would have asked this question before. This next slide, Maria, please. So that's why in the avenues for research, we propose in a small paper that we have just submitted to SAGE, online research case studies, we propose this tool as a very successful tool that has shown its strength in order to capture this population of websites, informal and not informal, which has also been keen to understand how these different organizations interact, relate, or are structured. But we have seen that we can go a little bit more further. So the thing will be, for example, we would like to know, and we would like to suggest, to see if there is a possibility to aggregate machine learning approaches, in which we will have learning algorithms that will be able to classify large number of content across outlets which are harmonized, and with dictionaries. Obviously, this will mean that we will have to create these dictionaries. This will mean that we will have to create very specific fields in which we are already understanding the kind of coding and the kind of a structure in the organization website that we are looking for. But this as well will also, in the future, limit the manual work. Second, we also ask ourselves is, for example, what I said before, by using this kind of algorithms, the data extraction and the cleaning process of the sampling will be easier and will speed up the sample selection, because we will have more accurate information in order to dismiss or not these organizations and to dismiss possible biases. And in the last line, which is the one just coming after this one, the idea we'll see is it possible? We know that Facebook, for example, has the Graph API. We know that other organizations are using the GraphQL, and these tools can, in my opinion, with the expertise of the FORCE team, easily integrate them. And through this integration, we will be able to capture and to add the lacking feature that we have, the lack of links of collaborations between the organizations. So we will be able to produce at least two types of networks. Networks in which we have ego network in the center. The ego network will be the organization and the connections of the organization. So we will be able to do ego network analysis with the center based in the organization, and we will be able to create also network analysis based in a sample universe that in a full universe that we consider the network boundary, and see how this collaborates. And then I think these were all the venues for research. I let Maria.
Yeah, I think we will now close it with the nice avenues that Eva said. This conclusion is a more general that just shows that how much our way of approaching the online sources and our collaboration with Yannis Zizikas and Yannis Marketakis helped us move forward, and we hope that the next improvements on the method that we have in mind will also be able to be made. For anyone interested, we can send you our 2 special issues, one with sociological research online, one with American behavioral scientists, that depict analysis of the action organizations. So thank you very much.